Okay, so today we are going to talk about getting an RTX 2080 Super in 2022. Yeah, this card exists and it's pretty rare also. And this is the Founders Edition. And let us unbox it. Yeah, Apple packaging. Inspired by gamers, built by Nvidia. Oh no, I have been scammed. Ooh, just kidding. It's inside the system. Okay. So regarding the RTX 2080 Super, so myself, I am from India, and this card launched in India at a price of 82,000 rupees, but actually people buying it paid around 69,000 rupees or something. But nowadays it's being sold for quite a lot less. And the another thing about this card is how beautiful it looks. So just look here how gorgeous this card looks. Also, it has an totally black vapor chamber cooler in between, so that is the entire thing that's cooling down this card. And also the main thing which makes this card so beautiful is this alloy casing. So many cards have plastic backplate or thin metal sheets, but this is a thick alloy backplate, and this is also like screwed in with a ton of screws. Okay, let me change the color so it will be more well lit. Yes. So as you can see, I have turned it to white light, and we have a green RTX logo over here. And also the beautiful thing about this card is the mirror finish below, and these are the two fans. This is a 250 watt TDP card, so due to that it has an 8-pin plus 6-pin power connector. And I just couldn't explain more about this beautiful looking thing. It really looks so beautiful. Okay, so let us talk about the specs of an RTX 2080 Super right now. And this RTX 2080 Super unfortunately does not have a spec bump as much as the other super cards. So as you can see here, from the 2060 to the 2060 Super, there was a moderate spec bump. So 19202 to 2176. So this 2176 is the 12GB variant, which was later released due to the cryptocurrency mining thing. So we will ignore that. And this jump from 1920 to 2176, this really helped the 2060. And this card really worked in the class of 1080p gaming and a little bit of 1440p gaming. And when we come to 2070, 2304 CUDA cores it had. But the 2070 Super has 2560. It was a moderate bump, but even this resulted in a very good performance equal to the RTX 2080. But as you can see here, the RTX 2080 Super does not have much of a big jump from the RTX 2080. But this does not make it a bad card. I will tell you why. So this RTX 2080 Super is performance competent to an 3060 Ti. But as you can see here, a 3060 Ti from Zotac, a nominal priced model, sells for around 44,000. But an RTX 2080 Super used card nowadays, we can acquire it for around between 30 to 35,000 rupees. So that is around 10,000 rupees of savings. So that 10,000 rupees can help somewhere else in your system. So in my system, I use this 10,000 rupees to upgrade my RAM. So initially I had 16 gigs of RAM, and I upgraded it to 48 gigs. I just added 2 additional 16GB sticks on top of the existing 8GB sticks. And also this card which I have is the Founders Edition card. And the good thing about Founders Edition card is that it comes with Samsung GDDR6 memory, which is pretty much what to say, not too much, but a lot underclocked from the factory. So due to that, actually this card has a memory which is running under spec. So what that does is that the spec of the memory is a little bit more and it's running below, so this will improve the longevity of the card. And also if we want to increase the bandwidth of the memory and improve the performance on high resolution and VR gaming, what we can do is we can just overclock the memory a lot in this card. So I think this runs at around 7700 megahertz stock, but actually we can take it around 9500 megahertz through overclock with a stable frequency set. So that's really cool. So now let us talk about RTX 2080 Super versus 3060 Ti. And here you can see GPU user benchmark mentions it's 5% faster, but actually it's not. It is more or less like some cases 3060 Ti is around 2% faster, and some cases 2080 Super is around 2% faster. So it's give or take. It's like that. And the other thing is that the good thing about the 3060 Ti is a lot newer architecture, and it has ray tracing cores like version 2.0 ray tracing cores, but those do not benefit much in actual gaming. The only place where the 3060 Ti excels according to me is the power consumption. It's around 220 watts TDP, and the RTX 2080 Super has around 250 watts TDP. Due to that it heats a little bit more, but I use it for 1080p 60 fps gaming, and it is much more capable than that. Actually this card was developed specifically with 4K in mind, so yeah, it is much more competent than that. And also in my country, like the RTX 3060 Ti costs around 35 to 40% more than a 2080 Super used. So with an 3060 Ti you would get warranty of maybe 2 years or 3 years, and also a satisfaction of buying a new product. But what I would recommend is these Founders Edition cards. These are very well sealed cards and very well constructed cards, so they will last for a long time. And when you are buying them, you can just thermally check them by running a stress test, and you can like evaluate how good is it. So as for me, I would consider an RTX 2080 Super better than a 3060 Ti due to the price factor and the feature competence also. The 3060 Ti is not like feature competent so much that I would pay around 30% more than a 2080 Super. So according to me, a 2080 Super is a better card in this. So now let's talk about RTX 2080 Super versus RTX 3060. And as the benchmark says here, you can see that it's 40% faster, and it's really true. So why am I comparing these two? These are like totally different class of GPUs. That is because in my country an RTX 3060 Ti costs similar to an used RTX 2080 Super. That's really absurd, and that is the market in which I live. So due to this, what I would say is the RTX 2080 Super has an higher TDP than 3060 Ti and the 3060. But why I would recommend this above 3060 is that it's equal to 3060 Ti in a price of RTX 3060. So any smart people that are looking for a GPU right now to game on a budget, I would recommend them to look into an RTX 2080 Super. Now regarding the models which we have in the RTX 2080 series, like we have a ton of models. So here we have an EVGA Superclock, the triple fan version, the reference version, a blower card, an AAO liquid cooled one. So we have tons and tons of these versions of these cards. But what I would recommend is depending on your system build. So here if you look here, my system is a micro ATX system with a micro ATX motherboard, and it's pretty compact. You can see how much gap there is between the fan and the card. So I selected this exact card. So if I would have selected a triple fan card, that would have not fit actually. And if I would have set an selected an AAO cooled one, actually an AAO cooled RTX 2080 Super is unnecessary. And 2080 Ti, that's good, but a 2080 Super, that is literally unnecessary. And also a blower card. Blower card runs really hot, and I have cases with the mesh bottom from where I can pull in cool air and cool the card even more efficiently. So due to that, for my purposes, I thought that the best card would be a Founders Edition or a dual to triple slot blower card. And I got this Founders Edition card at a pretty good deal. So yeah, so I went this for card, but depending on the situation you can get some other format also. So let us take for an example, if you are having a smaller case like an ITX case which is this long, and you are having ITX motherboard here and PSU here, and the card is in vertical position, and in that situation a blower card would do more good than an dual fan model. So that is because it has only one space for air intake and the rest is stretched out. So here you can populate other things or shove in cables or do anything else, and you can have a small gap over here and near the blower. So due to this, what happens is it gets a free intake of air, and the other parts, so the other shrouded parts can be used for other things in a small compact build. And if you are having an ATX build, and in that case I would recommend for you to go for a triple slot model. So the best model that I saw was an MSI Gaming X-Trio, so that was really good. So those cards I would recommend. So here, as you can see, the RTX 2080 was launched with 4K in mind, and the 2080 Super was also launched for 4K only. And here you can see, like in all the titles it exceeds at least 60 fps, and these are like old titles, but in newer titles we can get 60 fps, but we might need to turn down some settings like ambient occlusion or reflection or SSR. So those things, if we turn them down a little bit, we will get 60 fps at 4K still. So that's why, like I tell, this is a really competent gaming GPU. And also the main thing that I bought this exact GPU to use is because of VR gaming. And previously I had an GTX 1060 3GB model, which was really bad for VR gaming. Actually the 1066GB was the minimum recommended spec for any VR gaming setup, but I used to do it on a 3GB card and it was really bad. So that's why I upgraded to this card, and this have been performing very good since. And I have been also playing many games on 1080p 60 fps, and it really doesn't even sweat a little. Other than Cyberpunk, the other games it runs like in idle, and it reaches only temperatures around 55 degrees Celsius or maybe around 60. That's all. During Half-Life Alyx VR session only, I have been seeing the power consumption was low. It was around 160 watts, but I saw a temperature of 72 degrees. So that was really weird. And I'm not sure if that is because of the memory being utilized fully, or is it the power delivery components heating up quicker, or I'm not sure about that. That we will have another video in which I will discuss regarding it. Talk regarding the best suited CPUs for this card. I would recommend to get an at least an Intel i5 12400F or an Ryzen 5 5600X to game at 1080p at high refresh rates. So if you are like planning higher resolution, maybe 1440 or 4K, so this card will have a bottleneck before the CPU does. So for those cases, I would recommend you to go for an i3 12100F or an so in case of Ryzen, you can look into the used market. So in used market, you could get an 3600 or an 3600X for really cheap. So that would be a really good bet. So I would recommend those CPUs to pair with this card. And to anyone playing at 4K, I would not actually recommend this card. Why? Because this card wasn't competent 4K card when it came out at 2019, but from that time, in these 2 years, the game industry has evolved a lot, and it has put in more emphasis on the ray tracing part. And these ray tracing cores on this card is not really as good as the 30 series. So due to that, when I turn on ray tracing on games, I am able to see a massive jump in power consumption, as this cores were the first gen cores and now the second gen cores. But now, as a part of the RTX 40 series, what I have seen is the ray tracing cores are much efficient and they have DLSS 3.0. These are all the factors, like it will boost the ray tracing performance in games so much more than these cards can do. So if you are concentrating on ray tracing and if you are concentrating on 4K, what I would recommend is, right now you can get in 3070, or if you are gonna wait for a lot of time until the 4060 and the 4070 launches, I would recommend you to get in 4060. which would be more competent to a 3070, I guess so. So with I'm guessing this through the history of improvements like what Nvidia has given all through the years. So that I would recommend.